Welcome to Big Brother Basics. My name is Jacob Harpole, and with me is the always fantastic, always fabulous Keith Guerrero. How are you doing tonight, Keith?
I'm doing fantastic and fabulous. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. And joining us for the first time this season, you know him from last season. He's the always exuberant, always ecstatic Aaron Nunley. Aaron, how are you doing?
I'm great. In Milan right now on a business trip, and I had to come and call y'all and make sure that I got, situated with the BB Basics this season. So thanks for having me.
Well, thank you so much for taking time out of sequester to join us for this recap. So very excited. We got a lot going on this episode. We kind of got a little bit of a look at all the different alliances. We saw them forming. We've got our first nomination ceremony. But before we kind of dive into that, I want to go ahead and start with the HOH competition. So it's your standard endurance. We see Brittany is the first one to fall. And immediately after, we see Kevin jump. Keith, what did you think about Kevin's performance in this HOH and his act of chivalry, if you will?
It must have been nice in the moment because Brittany was really upset. She was crying on the sidelines. Like, it is kind of embarrassing to be the first person falling out, especially if you actually are trying your hardest. But after the fact, it was very obvious that Kevin threw the competition, and as a poker player, I would expect more from him to be able to throw competitions better. And Brittany crying on the sidelines might have not been the best opportunity to throw the competition.
Aaron, anything you'd like to add?
He pretty much wrapped it up. Kevin is, if you don't really know what Kevin is doing right now in this game, because he wants to be that poker player, he wants to show that he's good, but he's all over the place right now, and it's gonna end up bad for him.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm not sure if I'm a big a fan of Kevin's strategy of just kind of throwing like really over the top to the point where it's super obvious. It is funny at the beginning, but when you really get into the heat of this game, you're gonna want to at least try to win some competitions, and it might rub people the wrong way, the fact that you're kind of almost mocking everyone else by throwing it in the way that he's doing. So I think by the end of this episode, he'll probably stop doing that, seeing as how he's on the block. But yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about it. So one of the many things that we kind of got to look at during the HOH competition is some of the alliances that are currently forming. We kind of got to look at it last episode that Zach and Jordan are connecting, and now we finally have a name. They're called the Newport Alliance. Aaron, what do you think of these two working together? Do you think it's something that we're going to see long term, or is it something that's probably going to fall apart in the first few weeks?
I think that they're going to be solid with each other. For some reason, I just feel like they're going to be true to each other, but I don't think that they're destined to go super far in the game. I feel like, honestly, Zach is going to find himself addicted before either of them wants to go. So, I have all the faith that they're going to be grateful to each other, but it's just them actually going far.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Keith, how do you feel?
What were you saying?
What was that?
I said also I don't like the name.
Well, out of some of the others, I think Newport's, I guess my
cigarette. But as far as the, I think it actually solidified way more than I had expected it to. Like, I didn't realize how reciprocated from both parties that they were in it to win it together. So that's refreshing to see. I'm actually more on Team Newport than some of the other alliances that I've seen form this episode. Also, are we done talking about the HOH competition? Because there is something else I wanted to mention.
No, we're not done. It was just they cut to a bunch of stuff during the HOH. So
right.
That's just kind of how I had my notes set up. But here, we'll finish this and we'll kind of dive into the HOH more. But all I want to say about Newport is that I kind of agree with what you guys are saying. I think this is probably the most solid alliance that we've got. Like, I know that there's Chop Chop, but I can already see the expiration date on that alliance. Whereas Jordan and Zach, I think, are probably the most dangerous pair in the house currently. I think Zach is someone that is going to do really, really well. But what's going to make or break Jordan for me is whether or not he's going to be able to stab Zach in the back, which I feel like he's really going to have to do if he wants a legit shot at winning, just because I think Zach has like that Superman appeal to him that I think will draw people. So I don't know. But for the meanwhile, I think this is the pair to look out for, and I think we're definitely going to see them maybe control what's going on in this first phase of the game. So let's talk about the HOH. And Keith, what specifically did you want to
I
talk
just wanted
about?
to talk about the like if we could just rewind and see the Big Brother Basics when we had to make our predictions. I'm pretty sure you said you thought Bobby was going to win, and I said I thought Cindy was going to win. So kudos to us for picking
Yes.
the final two, the last two to be in the competition. Were you surprised to see that Bobby and Cindy did so well?
No, because I picked Bobby to do well. So.
We're so good at this game.
But I'm just a little bit better. No, I'm just kidding. But no, yeah, I was actually. That's another thing I wanted to. I did want to talk about with Cindy because I mentioned it on Twitter, like whether or not you like her or find her annoying, like you cannot deny that she is a physical competitor. She won the first veto, second place in the HOH. I think Cindy is a force to be reckoned with in this game.
I absolutely.
And I was very shocked to see her do so well, but I'm really looking forward to seeing what else she can do.
I'm really obsessed with Cindy. Like I love Cindy with an S. She'll always be Cindy with an S now. Like I get it. You wanted your time in the limelight for the first episode, but you are a threat. That is freaking awesome. Because I just didn't expect it. I didn't expect her to be such a competition threat. And I don't know if it's because we have a lot of players who are super fans who know how to like do the under the radar, like throwing games like right in the middle, aka Sarah like falling it so she knows that she's not a have-not. But I think Cindy was just awesome to see in the veto competition, awesome to see in the HOH competition, and she's so rootable. I really want to see her do well in this game.
Aaron, what did you?
I was going to say, I think what made that really shocking for me with Cindy with an S was that, to me, right out the gate, she gave me Pow Pow vibes. Like, I just really felt like she was going to be Pow Pow, all this talk, and just a hot mess. And so when she turns it up and she wins the veto, embarrassing Kevin in front of all his friends, and then, comes in second place and embarrassing everybody else in the house in front of their friends, I was just like, wow, like, Cindy was an S, and second with an S, so it's very,
yeah.
I'm very surprised and interested in Cindy.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely, I think she's shocked a lot of us with just how competitive she is, or how well she's been doing in the challenges so far. Aaron, what do you think of the setup of the HOH? Like the fact that it was the first 8 people would be the ones competing in the have-not competition. Do you kind of like how it was set up, almost to where it kind of punishes you to throw the competition?
I do, because literally it's telling you if you really don't want HOH, then you really don't want to eat this week. So, like, it's forcing people to play. I mean, that's the kind of thing that U.S. Big Brother should implement more often instead of, the MVP twist, because that's how you're going to get rid of floaters, but you really don't get rid of floaters. So,
I really liked what Jordan did. Like, even though he did end up being a have-not, he kind of was able to hide the fact that he threw it by being one of the first 8 to fall. Because one thing I would be interested in looking out for is after those first 8 people have fallen, see how quickly the next people fall. Because then you could kind of gauge, all right, well, this person didn't want to win, this person didn't want to win. They just waited until the first 8 were done. whereas Jordan didn't really fall into that trap. He fell at an early state to kind of mask his intention of not winning. And Zach did the same thing, which I thought was interesting, but I think Zach was able to hide it less just because of his physical build. So let's go ahead and talk more about the alliances that we've seen that are forming. I know we already kind of talked about Newport, so I think the biggest one that we definitely want to discuss is the Chop Shop. Keith, what are your thoughts on the Chop Shop?
The Chop Shop, it's boring. It's like let me grab the most boring people in the house and put them together in an alliance, and let's look after each other.
Mm-hmm.
And what's unfortunate is that because Bobby was the last one in that alliance, he felt that pressure to win so that he can guarantee all 6 of them being safe. But I hope he realizes that Canada isn't rooting for you. Canada isn't rooting for your alliance. They want to see all of you go home. So do us a favor and not win HOH next time.
Yeah. What I'm seeing with these Twizzlers twins, like Canada will have the final say. So.
Yeah, I'm never a big fan of the alliances that are like, it's like day one and people are like, you know what, I feel like I could trust you till the end, and it's just, let's just grab 5 people or 6 people and just go for it. We're just going to go to the end. We're going to win every competition, blah, 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 blah. It's just so hard to root for. We've seen it so many times, and that mixed with the fact that the people that are in this alliance I'm not necessarily crazy about. Like, we've got Greg, who really the only thing we saw this episode was him strategizing while he was on the toilet. And I think that just that scene right there just kind of summarized my feelings on the Chop Shop. So luckily, though, this stuff doesn't last too long. We've seen some exceptions with the Bomb Squad or the Detonators and the Brigade, but I just don't think, looking at the people in this alliance, I don't think it's bound to last too terribly wrong. But I guess only time will tell.
The only person that was remotely interesting in the Chop Shop is Zach, and he's out. Like, he already told his final 2, like, all right, so I'm in the Chop Shop, it's this, 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 and this, which I think was a great move on his part. Because, what's his name? Jordan? No, Zach.
Yeah, Jordan.
Zach and Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
Where Jordan Jordan trusts him, and he's going to keep that information safe, and he's not going to just go around spewing out the Chop Shop. So he covered his base with his final 2, Jordan, who's not included in that large alliance, and he still has the safety net of the Chop Shop. So I'm glad that he's playing his bases. It seems like the Chop Shop's limiting themselves, and when you limit yourself in Big Brother, you're going to find yourself walking out the door. And also, mind you, where's the airtime of everybody else on the Chop Shop outside of Zach? Not here. The only reason why Bob had any airtime was because he's HOH. Otherwise, he's irrelevant. Like, who is he? Nobody cares about him. You're not strategizing with anybody, and you're not faking it either because you don't play the game. Like, you're going to get evicted so early, it's not even going to be funny. I didn't even take a breath because I had so much to say.
I'm just like, because first off, I remember, because I just went through all the episodes, looking at Willow, and I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna like her, she's gonna be fire. No, she's not. She's so invisible, irrelevant, and I forgot about her existence until they brought up the Chop Shop. I was like, oh, Willow, hey. And for Greg, I didn't remember he was there until I saw him on the toilet, and I was like, and for that little, half a second, like, airtime he got, he pissed me off. Like, I don't even know what it is that he did, but he went from, like, invisible to, like, I just want you out of the house. Like, I don't know what it was, but I'm already team go home, Greg.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good hashtag, go home, Greg. Let's see if we can get that started. But yeah, I agree. I like that Zach was so open with Jordan, and I think that's one of the reasons why I think Newport is going to be such a force to be reckoned with, because you've already got 2 people that are just being completely open and honest with each other, and 2 people that know the game and are very well liked in the house. It's very, very scary to see, and that's points for Zach for me, because he sees this alliance, this 6-person alliance. He probably knows that it's not going to last forever. So he's already being honest and telling Jordan about it. It's kind of like what I wish Christine would have done with Nicole as far as the Bomb Squad. Yeah, yeah. So it's like an eight-person alliance. You don't think it's gonna get outed out at all. So I really like that move by Zach. So let's go to another, I guess, alliance that had formed. And we have Sarah and Neha, and then I guess Brittany's more so like the third. I think it's mostly Sarah and Neha, if I'm not mistaken.
I'll take this one, Julie.
Okay.
So,
Let me go first because I did.
girl, no, I'm gonna snatch your weave out this phone if you don't let me talk because I just need to say something. Sarah and Neha. Sarah and Neha were both my picks, like my winner and my runner up to win this game. And so the fact that they're like bonding is like making me just melt inside. I just want this alliance to work. Say what you need to say.
That's all you had to say.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
I mean, you're on deck. You're the floor is yours. You're wasting yours.
All right then. Well, right out the gate, I already said that I was getting Victoria vibes from Neha. It was just the way that she was in the first two episodes. She was giving off the same facial expressions that Risha, whatever her name was. I don't know. It's been a week. She's gone. And like they were just both like the same facial expressions, where they're just like defeated because they didn't have their beds and their food and stuff. So I just kind of was like already over Neha, but when she walked up to Zach, and was asking him about nominations and getting that information, I was like, you know what, she just 180 for me. I'm like, yes, I believe everything that you're saying and that you're doing, and I am definitely on your team. It's a whole other thing with Sarah, though. Like, I don't know how I feel about Sarah. Like, she's nice and all, but it's not on the same level as Neha, so I don't know how I feel about that alliance together.
Yeah, I'm definitely hoping that they become like a solid thing, and I think what's best for them right now is to just kind of lay low, not pull up a flag or anything until they get some power, because you never know what's going to happen during the week. But yeah, I understand what your concerns for Sarah. I think Sarah's going to be kind of the player that it's like, well, as long as it's not me, I don't care who goes up. But I think that she's very insightful, and I would love for her and Neha, as well as Brittany, to get something going. But yeah, I love Neha and that Zach conversation, because you just see Zach, who's normally like this cool, collected guy, kind of stutter a little bit, like definitely be like, well, I mean, I don't know. And Neha's just like looking at him with those cold eyes.
She gets you.
But yeah, I'm a big Neha fan. She's just got that facial expression that just says, "Put me up and see what happens." And the last alliance that I want to talk about, I guess, isn't really an alliance, but it's technically one. We've got the Fortress with Kevin and Jordan, and I wish it was a thing, because I like it, and it looks like Jordan is willing to ride it out a little bit, but it's just a joke almost to him. What do you guys think about the Fortress?
I also wish that it was an alliance, like an actual alliance, because this little arm number and the head movement was actually pretty cool. I could have been at home at the laptop at the TV just going like this with them.
You can market that.
Yeah, it's very marketable and very hashtagable.
There you go.
The situation is that Jordan's not into it, and it's funny because I think Kevin is. But what was great about the Newport, bringing it back to Newport for a second, is that we got to see loyalty from Zach by telling Jordan everybody that's inside the chop shop, and now we got to see loyalty from Jordan's side by immediately looking at the camera and saying, that's a joke, Newport all the way, Newport all the way. So we really got to see that the loyalty is real, ride or die for Newport, and it was refreshing to see that it's from both sides of the Newport Alliance.
I personally would have liked it if, I would have liked it if we saw Jordan go tell Zach about that alliance. So, like, he could use that because, I mean, I guess he could because the chop shop is going after Kevin, so I guess it really wouldn't matter if he told Zach about the fortress. But, I'm just kind of, like, I had so much potential for Kevin, and it's just all over the place. So, like, I want that. I also want that alliance to be real, so I want him to do well, but he's all over the place. He's, like, and it's so, like, transparent. He's with Sarah and Johnny, and then he's up with the girls, and then he's over here throwing competition, sitting next to Brittany. So it's like the person you want to root for, but they're just not giving you anything to root for.
I don't want to root for him.
Here's my thing on Kevin, and I know we kind of talked about him a little bit, but I think you guys bring up excellent points. I'm very hot and cold on Kevin, and I think what's going to happen with Kevin is that he's a very likable guy, and he's got a good rapport, I think, with most people in the house. But once the numbers start to dwindle, assuming he's able to make it out of this week, it's going to get to the point where, like, everyone has, like, these allies that are, like, solid allies, and he's not going to really have that. And so I could see Kevin being a huge target for, like, a double eviction. You know, they just try and get him out right then and there. But, yeah, and so it sucks that for the most part we see him putting his eggs in Jordan's basket, and Jordan just not completely into it, which kind of sucks. And I feel this is gonna what's make or break Jordan for me, is if he's gonna sell out Kevin so much to Zach, because I feel like in this game is all about creating opportunities for yourself and having all these different options available. And my fear for Jordan is that he's gonna put all of his faith in Zach, which is not that bad. But if he really wants to win and doesn't want to play second fiddle to Zach, he's going to need to start watering these other relationships and coming up with these backup plans if Newport, for some reason, doesn't work out.
I agree. It reminds me very much of going back to past season, but Amber and how she could have worked with the girls and also worked with the bomb squad, but she had to go and sell out the girls, and that didn't really help her position in bomb squad at all.
Yeah.
I definitely agree. I like Jordan. I'm all down for people being loyal to their number one, but having backups is essential because you never know what's going down, especially in Canada. You definitely don't know what's going down. Like,
yeah, seriously. I can only imagine what's going to happen this season.
Backup, fourth backup, all backup.
Everybody. Okay, so let's talk about the HOH for a little bit. Bobby, his whole thing is he wants everyone to think that he's not talking game at all, and he wants to do what's going to come across as getting no blood on his hands. What do you think about this strategy? Do you think it's going to work for him? What's your thoughts on Bobby as a whole, Keith?
This is the first season of Big Brother where I've watched the feeds. I'm not going to give anything away, but watching Bobby shut down conversations with people is the most frustrating thing to see. Like, he's closing so many doors, and he's basically, like, all right, just hanging out with, like, the boring clique in this Big Brother game. Perception's reality, and right now I think he's painting a perception pretty well that he doesn't talk game with anybody. The people see through it. Like, you're gonna be talking game with people. Like, you're inside the house, and paranoid. Like, if you as HOH aren't talking game and everybody else is, then you're just waiting for a potential nomination for the following week because you're not building your bridges like you should be doing as head of household. So there's a lot of just red flags, and I think a lot of people are picking up on it for Bobby. And I think he needed to play it smarter. He needed to, like, if he wanted to nominate, like, the first two people that fell out of the HOH competition, fine, but also build bridges with people and say, you know what, I do want to work with you, Sarah, or I do want to work with you, Neha, but I just want to have safe nominations and nominate two people that got eliminated. That way you're still maintaining that bridge, but it just seemed like he's going to get evicted really soon.
Yeah, what do you think, Aaron?
I definitely agree. First off, I'm already not team. I'm like, he's already on the low totem pole, like the people that I like, just for living where he lives. But besides that, yeah, like, literally, the two things about the first HOH competition is that or the first HOH winner that you don't want the blood on your hands, so you want the TV nomination for what the house wants. And you're supposed to take that opportunity, that head of household position, to make yourself the best position in the house come next week because you have all the power. You make all the connections. You start all the friendships and all that crap. And he's literally shutting down everybody except for the Chop Shop. Which, I mean, if that were to be the case and the Chop Shop got to the final six together, you all don't control the vote. And, like, you need to have some type of relationship with the other jurors. So it's just, like, a smart player in that position would have acted like he didn't have an alliance. He would have acted as normal HOH and tried to make relationships.
A normal one!
That's how you hide the alliance. You don't act like you're comfortable and you don't want to just talk to anybody about it. It's literally like the worst thing you can do is make people nervous and not know what you're doing with your HOH because everybody else who's not in the Chop Shop doesn't have any trust in you, and you can't win HOH next week, and I doubt you're going to win, every other one. So, I mean, good job, Bobby, on your first HOH.
And when he needs to go and campaign for his life next week, people are going to shut it down right back in his face.
No, Bobby. We're not talking game. You didn't hear? We're not talking game.
Yeah, I agree. Here's my thing about Bobby. I think he had the right intentions. Like, obviously, first HOH, your goal is, I want to be in a good position next week. And I can kind of see what he's trying to do as far as, like, I want everyone to think that I'm not thinking about game. But that's not what everyone's thinking. If you're being so, I guess if you're shutting people off and not really bringing anything to conversations with people, they're not going to really think that you're not talking game at all. They're just going to think that you're not talking game with them. And what that's going to do is it's going to alienate, like you guys said, anyone that's not in the Chop Shop Alliance. This is what I see Bobby. He reminds me kind of like Caleb from last season, whereas he puts all of his eggs in his alliance basket, and he doesn't really work on the relationships that he has with the other people in the house. Obviously, since their alliance was so dominant, Caleb was still able to make it really, really far in the game. But in this season, I don't think Bobby's going to have that same luck. My prediction for Bobby is that as soon as that alliance crumbles, he's probably going to be one of the next few to go because he doesn't have a solid relationship with anyone else in the house, and so no one's going to want to trust him or work with him. So I think that he should have at least tried to, ask people what they thought, tried to develop some sort of rapport with people instead of just being like, yeah, I'm not talking game with anyone, I'm just doing what my gut feels. Like, if I'm a player and someone in an HOH tells me that, I immediately think, well, you're not on my side, so I don't know. I think that I just think that the way that he went about it hurt his game more than helped his game.
It's the small things like, what do you think? As an HOH, put the power in other people's hands for once. And, yeah, he just didn't get it. Didn't see the opportunity.
And I don't like the Willow DR where she's like, you have to talk to the HOH. And it's just like, people are talking to the HOH. Like the conversation with Sarah. And, there were plenty of opportunities I saw in the feeds where people were trying to talk to Whip Bobby. And he just completely shuts them down. Just like, oh, yeah, I don't know. Oh, yeah, definitely. It's just like talking to a wall. So I get that you need to be talking to the HOH, but the HOH isn't giving anything in return. You can only go so far. And Aaron brings up an excellent point. You're only going to be HOH 1 week. So instead of focusing on what's going on this week, you need to also have in the back of your mind what's going to happen when you're not in power, when you're not safe. And I think that's what Bobby is kind of overlooking.
What Bobby needs is a Neha intervention where she just stares into his soul and says, what you gonna do?
What's going on? Who's going up?
I really think that him living in a basement and going to the top of the HOH, it really messed him up. Like, he just wasn't ready for that step. So.
Yeah, so
what's wrong with him?
We're kind of already touching on it right now, but let's go ahead and just dive right into it. So Bobby decides to nominate Kevin and Brittany, and I actually was unable to catch his speech. So if one of you guys could kind of fill me in on what he said. I assume he just said something about how they were the first two people to drop, but is there anything else I missed?
That was his speech.
In fact, I really don't like the way that I did see Canada 1 or seasons 1 or 2 of Canada, but I really don't like like the whole like his moving of the gears and all that. I guess that's me or whatever, but it's not suspenseful enough for me, and I don't like that there wasn't an actual like speech because he just said you're first off, you're second off. I want you to fight in the veto.
That's so condescending too. That's really condescending for them to be like, I want you to fight for the veto. You're the first person off, fight for that veto, girl. You're the second person off, fight for that veto.
Yeah.
Everybody in the HOH, well, they're going to do better in the veto.
Something that I did like about this season is the short list. I don't know if you saw that part, Jacob, but like,
Yeah, I saw that.
that was so cool because you get to see what's inside the HOH's mind and who's the most in danger. I had no idea that the other two outside of them would be Cindy with an S and what's the other guy's name?
Johnny.
Johnny. I always forget his name. Johnny. So
Under the radar.
sucks for Johnny. Like I thought Johnny would be safer than that, but apparently he's in the hot seat. So that was really cool. Cool insight to get inside the HOH's mind because Bobby doesn't even talk to Canada.
Yes, he did. He was talking about his queer sandwich. Or maybe that was just me. Never mind. Yeah, it's kind of like the short list is pretty cool. It's kind of like on the U.S. show, you know, when they pan over the people's memory wall photos, like certain people that you think are going to be in the hot seat, and then you hear like a confessional of them being like, oh, I really hope that when I didn't screw up in the half mile competition, I don't get put up. But it is cool that it's kind of like... Yeah, well, you get more of the thought process behind what the HOH is thinking rather than that person. So it's like, these are the 4 people that I'm looking at. Here are reasons why I want to put all of them up. So yeah, I don't know. I like the setup.
I also like that they're using social media. They're using new technology for the nominations. We used to have keys. Now we're using the digital phone.
Yeah.
You can drag your prey.
I miss the key pull though. I think like what Aaron said, it kind of eliminates the suspense, and that's I do miss that instead of being like, all right, you and you are nominated.
Yeah.
So like the nomination ceremony is supposed to be like this very intense moment, and I feel like we're kind of, you know, even with all the gadgets and the vaults and all that, you know, hoo-ha, it is kind of like that. I do miss the one-by-one figuring out who's going on the block.
The benefits to that is that it's ritualistic, like it's traditional. It's just like something that should be happening in every Big Brother season. But also there's paranoia involved with the key order. Like, oh, you got the, you got the second key, I got the last key. You gave me the last key? I got you next week. Like, you know, like there's so many things that can happen with the key ceremony, the intensity, like everybody sitting around the table on edge, and now they're just in a living room pulling a vault with gears moving around.
Yeah, I completely agree.
I'm sure it's still intense for them, but just not the level that I would like.
Agreed. I agree. So
at the regular key ceremony, Brittany should have been crying by the 3rd key.
Or the person that they try and, what's the word I'm looking for, convince someone to put like person A on the block, and then that person's key is like the first one pulled, and you're like, uh-oh, that's not good.
Yes, awkward.
I'm probably going on the block.
First person safe, Cindy with an S.
Yeah. You're right. So yeah.
Something up.
Please do.
Of course.
I mean, it's kind of. I mean, obviously it's about Big Brother Canada, but kind of off topic. I saw somebody tweet something that I was very like, you know what? She really hit US really hard. Someone tweeted that this season of Big Brother Canada, people are more. It's like people were more observant, or they pick up on more things than the whole season of Big Brother 16. You know, like, you know, Neha saw through Zach,
Sarah saw through
Jordan
Bobby.
saw through Kevin. Like, everybody just sees through everybody's, you know, moves. And you couldn't get anyone in season 16 to see anything. So I just thought it was really funny. I was like, this is very true. Like, favorite, subscribe.
Well, I think a big reason for that too is I think this, and Keith, you and I were kind of talking about earlier, there's a lot of super fans this season, whereas I can't remember what the exact number was for 16, but I think we had like 9 recruits from
Yeah.
16 that had only watched from like 12 and on or whatever. But Jordan is an extremely big super fan.
Mhm.
Sarah is a very big super fan. I know that they're, yeah, I don't know
Neha.
how much of a fan Neha is, but I mean, you can't deny how perceptive she is.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm very excited. I'm
Willow was
really.
training.
What's that?
Willow was
Oh
training.
yeah,
Her.
Yeah, I'll.
Well, I mean, nobody was training for season 16. Let's just put that out there. So at least
Yeah,
Willow's doing that.
yeah, I agree. I agree. Um, so before we wrap it up, I just want to present you guys with a question. I want you guys to tell me who you think is in the best position of the house, who is the worst position in the house, and who do you think will be the dark horse? So I'll give you a second to think while I'll go. For me, I would say best position in the house is probably I'm gonna go with Jordan. I almost said Zach, but I think his conversation with Neha maybe kind of put a small target on his back, whereas Jordan has Zach as protection, and through that has the chop shop, and he has a like relationship with Kevin. I think that Jordan all around is in a pretty good spot right now. As far as the worst position on my house in the house, I would probably say Cindy with an S. I almost said Kevin because he's on the block as the target, but I think what Kevin has that Cindy doesn't are relationships. We don't really see any bonding that Cindy has with anyone in the house, um, and I think that's something that's really important. So I think everyone sees her as a big threat, and if she doesn't have allies, then there's really not a lot she can do. As far as dark horses, I think I'm going to have to say I'm going to go with Sarah. I think Sarah has a really good mind for the game. The only thing she's missing is a key solid group and that she can work with. But as of right now, I'd probably give her my dark horse. But I'm not sure. Only time will tell. So, Keith, what are you thinking?
Thank you for the floor.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay, so the person in the best position, I would agree, would be Jordan. I think he set himself very nicely, and I think even though he's like doing all this, he's doing the most with the cameras. Like immediately looking through the camera, saying, "No, no, I'm not gonna be with the fortress," or he's immediately saying, like, "Oh, we know you're throwing it, Kevin." Like he's kind of coming off in a negative light. Like he's playing the game really well. I would say that perception's reality, and he's being perceived the way he wants to be perceived, and he's very insightful. And he knows about a very dangerous group of 6, and he can probably take them out utilizing the cards to his advantage. So I think he's doing a really good job, and I think he's in the best position. The person in the worst position, I would say, is Kevin. I think that there is some sort of like gender divide, and I think a guy is going to be going home pretty soon. So Kevin is the person that has the least amount of relationships and the most threatening to the house as a male. So I think that he would definitely be somebody that could be a target, especially even like with like the balloon popping. I don't know if he got caught or whatever, but like people are suspicious of him in that sense. So throwing competitions, like people aren't sure if they can trust him. I think he's not setting himself up well for a long-term game. So I think right now he's in really troubling water.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally for Dark Horse, I'm surprised you actually didn't say this person, Jacob, because we kind of talked about it. But I think the Dark Horse is Bruno. And the reason
I
why
almost said Bruno. I almost said Bruno.
the reason why is because even though he's in that boring ass Chop Chop alliance, like he's in the best spot out of everybody in that group. Like he has the shield of Greg because people don't even want to stand looking at his face. He has the shield of Bobby, who's the HOH. And there's a bunch of other threats over Bruno that he's just going to be overlooked, even if he is a part of this final 6. Like he's going to be nominated next to them, but they're going to be going home. Like he's not going anywhere. So I think Bruno's the dark horse, and he's going to stay in this season, unfortunately, for a very long time.
Oh, yeah, I almost said Bruno, but we just didn't really get that much from him this episode, so I wasn't really sure about him. But no, I agree with you. I think Bruno's in a pretty good spot. But Aaron, what are your thoughts?
thank you. Um, So I'm gonna be like everybody else and say that Jordan is in the best position, um, just based off of his relationship with his boy Zach and Kevin somehow trusted him and just the way he is playing, because he is playing for Canada, but in this type of game in Canada, you have to be likable to Canada because they'll get you. So I think he's doing really well. The only time that I thought that he could possibly slip up, it didn't happen because Brittany is not on the level that I want her to be, which is when he was told about the censors. I'm like, girl, if you didn't realize the censors and he did, like, who's smart here, you know, type deal. But she's not there, and now she's crying, so I lost her.
Poor Brittany.
And then in the worst position, I'm gonna have to give it to probably Kevin because he's all over the place. I just hope that he gets off the block so that he can reevaluate his Big Brother life because it's really a mess right now. Like he gives me Brian Hart vibes. Like there's so much potential, but you're trying so hard week one and it's falling apart. So I just really want him to like evaluate it and then start over again. And then for the dark horse, I was close to saying Sarah, and I also was going to say Neha, but she's not really a dark horse because she's going to step into the limelight soon. I'm going to give it to Johnny. I know he has the gay guy stigma. He ties himself to girls, and he's in love with Kevin, but sooner or later Kevin's gonna go, so he won't really have that going for him. And I feel like Johnny might be able to surprise people. So I'm rooting for you, Johnny. I'm rooting for you.
Hey, Aaron, when you were just giving your sermon just now at church, and you compared Kevin to Brian, I was standing up and waving my hand because it really spoke to me. That is so true.
Were you making Picasso noises?
Yes, I was speaking in tongues. I was like,
You were grabbing some bow ties. Let me put these on. I got something to say.
Oh man.
Yeah, so it should be, I don't know, I'm loving all the different alliances. I'm really hoping that we get sort of a divide going. It looks like Kevin's probably going to be going unless he wins veto, so I think the veto episode tomorrow will be really interesting. So definitely make sure that you, if you're watching, to watch the veto episode and then stay tuned for our breakdown of the basics. And yeah, is there anything you guys want to say before we call it a night?
Follow us at Twitter, at Jacob Harple, at Sarcastivities, at Most Humble. And remember,
stay basic.
One of us is gonna say it eventually.
I was like, who's doing it? Who's gonna take it? But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.